What's up, everybody? Welcome to
Yo,
another episode of Birds Deep. Coming to you on a special Black Friday edition. Got the Dark Knight down there and Cool McCain, Eagles Elite Podcast. How you feeling, Cool?
After a Monday, I'm feeling pretty good, actually.
Yeah, you ain't lying. Super Bowl rematch turned out to be a very good football game, but we'll talk about that. But I got to introduce my brother from another, THEE, GODFREY. How you feeling, D. Godfrey?
I'm feeling good, man. Can't complain. Hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving. I'm feeling vindicated with my Eagles prediction, and that was a good win. A lot to talk about. A lot of exciting, challenging games coming up for the Eagles. So I'm feeling good. I'm on a high after that win in Arrowhead.
Well, I'll tell people who I am. I'm Mean Whoa Gene. I'm ready for Survivor Series tomorrow night. I'm gonna lie to you. But yeah, I mean, don't get too high. Don't get too high. The Philadelphia Eagles have a very, very tough road ahead of them. And I think that the thing we got to talk about most is I know Buffalo in the Kelly Greens can't be a trap game, but it's very close to being a look ahead because next week, and listen, the schedule makers did the Eagles no favors here. You get Andy Reid off of a bye on Monday Night Football in Arrowhead. Then on a short week, you got Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. And then the following week, you got the San Francisco 49ers off extended rest. And then the following week, you have the Dallas Cowboys off extended rest. I'm not going to lie to you, guys. This isn't fair. It's not fair. But that's okay. We're not going to cry about it. The Philadelphia Eagles fans embrace all challenges. So no crying. There's no crying in football. Stole the no crying in baseball line. But what's popping, y'all? Cool. Let me ask, before we get into grades, I kind of want your opinion on the schedule, the way it breaks down. I think it's kind of absurd.
Well, definitely not a fan of it, but I feel like it's happening to other teams too. So I'm big on balance. If you're gonna screw us, as long as you're screwing everybody else too, I can take it. Right? Dallas has got a nasty stretch coming up. The Commanders' whole schedule has been a nasty stretch for them. The Giants' whole season's been a nasty stretch for them. So I feel like, it's spread out evenly among the teams, if that kind of makes sense. Like everybody has one of those really tough stretches. So as long as we're not the only one, I'm good with it. And of course, I always believe no one likes us and we don't care. So I expect these type of things.
I feel you. Godfrey, can I ask you a question real quick? The most important games of our schedule are the next two, not Buffalo, San Francisco, and then Dallas, at Dallas.
Yeah.
Do you think that the Eagles were like, listen, we're going to screw you here? I think they got screwed. I'm not going to lie to you. Cool talked about the Cowboys schedule. They got a little brutal stretch coming, but this brutal stretch is kind of set up nicely for them, right? They get the home game. They get the extended rest. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just being a little bit of crybaby here.
I mean, it's definitely a tough schedule. I mean, the Chiefs game is the one where I was feeling like I'm not quite sure because there's a couple more X factors going there. I was sure they beat them last week, but I wouldn't be surprised if they lost. If they get through this stretch and they end up going, 4-1, 3-2. I mean, I still think they're in great shape for the season. I was talking to a friend about that the other day, so it does kind of suck. But I want to see him test it too. And toward the end of the season, they keep winning ugly. I'm not afraid of the 49ers still. Don't care what anybody says. The Seattle is an average team at best. Don't be impressed by that because it was on national TV. The Cowboys, somehow we end up splitting with them all the time. So we lose that. I'm not surprised. Division game. All right, it's in Dallas. But I think they could take care of the 49ers and the Bills personally. Where, the damn Cowboys game doesn't even matter. But we'll see. I mean, the Cowboys got to win too. And I haven't seen the Cowboys be able to do what the Eagles did. Like the Cowboys don't have a win where they go into like a place like KC and win and come away with the victory. They don't have a win like that. against a team like that. They just don't. It's the truth of the matter. They do what they're supposed to do against bad teams. I get it, but I don't know. It is a tough stretch, but as a fan, though, and I know you kind of feel this way too. You're just kind of asking a question. I do like to see these challenging games. I want to see what my team's made of. Iron sharpens iron. That's how I feel.
Well, you're right. You're right. I think that this is a fun stretch, and I think it'll be fun. And you can't say we don't go into the playoffs battle tested, right? Went into KC. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the grades from the Kansas City game, Monday Night Football win. And what is the narrative around this Philadelphia Eagles team? It was ugly. They didn't play their best football, but they won the football game. And I agree that this is the truth again.
Can we talk about the elephant in the room? Nick Sirianni, how do we feel about his post-game reaction? Everybody's been talking about it. I think it's interesting. That's the elephant in the room to me. Is it too much? Do we want him to shut up, or do we love his enthusiasm?
I'll let Cool go first.
Pass. I don't have anything to say about the silliness.
Well, I do. Godfrey, you played softball with me, right?
Yeah.
You talked to me outside of off the field. You've talked to me on here. We've talked a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like that I'm a different person when I'm on the softball field than when I am outside the field?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so I feel like people let their emotions get the best of them in a competitive nature. I think he's embarrassing at times. I think it's very awkward and weird the way he comes off. But, like, it takes him all of 15 minutes to calm down and get to the press conference, and he's back to being Nick Sirianni. I don't like it. I don't. Because if a coach did that in Philadelphia to us, we would hate it, right? So, I don't know.
The Bryce Harper theory. We hated him before he was here, and now he's one of us.
I can't compare that to Bryce Harper.
I mean, everybody hated how cocky he was. And then when he came here, we love it. It's confidence. You know what I mean? Now, instead of cockiness. And other people say it about him now. Sirianni, I like it. I'm in the middle. I don't really hate it. I don't really love it. I feel like we had like a long time of Andy Reid that was more vanilla than vanilla ice cream can be. He was more vanilla than sugar-free vanilla ice cream. Like, he was boring. He wouldn't give us anything. Belichick, he's a stump on a log. He's one of those dudes. He's corny at times. Don't get me wrong. The Kenneth Gainwell t-shirt, I wasn't feeling that at Eagles Flight Night 2 years ago when he was there. He's corny. He does a little. He has a little Mick Foley in him where he does some of the Mick Foley pops. You know what I mean? I'm like, all right, okay. But I liked it. I like some emotion because I want to see that my coach cares. So I'm in the middle. I don't hate it, but I just feel like, look, you know what I mean? He's battling out there. Sometimes it's good to know that your coach dies with the game just like you do.
That's fair.
Even though we know he does professionally, but it's good to show him. Good for him to open up the shirt and show us that he's a cornball. Don't get me wrong. He's a cornball. However, I like that he shows some of that emotion sometimes. From other team's perspective, I don't like to poke the bear, right? I don't want to give anybody bulletin board material. I feel like he's kind of done that, if we see the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. But at the end of the day, I feel like the Eagles have enough bulletin board material to overcome that because if they play them again, they're coming back for revenge for having a loss last year when they thought they should have won it.
Okay. Chris said, field at MetLife ended another player's season. As Eagles fans, do you have the same issue with the MetLife field that others do? We really don't. We didn't have any significant injuries for the Jets game. We played the Giants there once a season. I don't remember any significant injuries that happened for Philadelphia on that field, but it does seem to be popping a lot of Achilles.
What player was it?
Phillips for the Miami Dolphins tore his Achilles today.
I have a lot of issues with that field. I mean, I know we don't have a lot of issues on it, but the thing is, that field is garbage.
Our field?
No, MetLife. That field is garbage. That field could tear somebody up. We don't play the Giants there until the last game of the season, so I'm hoping everything's wrapped up so our starters can sit on the sidelines and not have to put their body out there on that piece of trash of the field. They really need to do something about that.
Would people be saying that, though, if Aaron Rodgers didn't do it, tear his Achilles, and it was just
I've been saying it for 3 years.
People have been saying that for a while, though. It's been
it's still garbage trash.
That's Achilles tendon field.
Yeah, to give Christopher Armstead some relevance of history for Philadelphia having an issue like that. We once upon a time did it at Veterans Stadium. It was known as one of the worst surfaces in the world. If you look at Wendell Davis, he destroyed both of his knees in the same game. Okay, Chicago Bear. He was a promising young receiver. Andy Reid actually canceled a preseason game once against the Ravens because he did not like the field in Veterans Stadium. This was toward the end of the life of Veterans Stadium, and usually it's unusual for MetLife to have this problem because usually these problems were in older multi-purpose stadiums that had multiple sports, multiple playing surfaces. So MetLife is unusual. I do think they should be looking at that. And, I don't know why. I mean, I don't know why the Giants, you got two teams here, really. You got the Giants. Did Daniel Jones tear his knee at MetLife or was that somewhere else? I think that might have been on the road. I could be wrong.
Not 100% sure.
But I mean, it's definitely concerning. They got to really look into that. I mean, you have $1 million athletes. I know that a lot of these guys have insurance policies, things of that nature. But at the end of the day, yeah, they should look into it. It is kind of strange because it's a newer field, right? So, I mean, they got the money to do it. These pirates that I call some of these owners charge seat licenses in places like New York City and Philly, which I think is one of the biggest swindles of all time. But that's another story. But if they're making that much cash off you just for buying the privilege of buying season tickets where you even pay for them, they need to fix that shit.
All right, well, let's get into grades for this past week on Monday Night Football. I want to start with QB1. QB1, Jalen Hurts. I give him a C. I feel like he made one really big throw, and that was the throw to Devontae Smith. I felt like the Philadelphia Eagles offense looked stagnant the entire game. 21 points I never would have thought would have been enough versus this Kansas City defense. The Philadelphia Eagles as a whole, and I'll get into Sirianni and the offense shortly, but I feel like Jalen Hurts did a very poor job executing. I gave him a C because you won a game at Arrowhead. You can't really complain too much about, but he didn't look great, right? He didn't look like he was dominating the field of play. So I'll start with Jalen Hurts. I'll give him a C. I'll head it down to Cool McCain. Where do you see QB1?
Shout out Bobby real quick. What's up, Bobby? But I'm gonna give him a B-. There were a lot of opportunities for him to make horrible plays that he did not. I would definitely agree he needs to do more. I wasn't impressed with him, but I think he did just enough for me to get like a B-. I don't have a problem with giving him a C. I don't think that's a low grade for him. And that's some kind of garbage grade that, it's just too out of line, Gene. But I give him a little bit more. I don't like the interception because if he had thrown that ball where A.J. Brown could catch it, that's 6 points. Nobody was going to stop A.J. Brown's. But at the same time, I mean, he's under pressure. The line was playing very poor in the first half as well, which is uncharacteristic. So he was getting hit a lot. So things he's probably not used to. So I'm going to give him a B-, but I don't have a problem at all with you giving him a C.
14 to 22, 150, one pick. He did have 12 carries, 29 yards, 2 touchdowns. So give him his credit running the ball. I was losing my mind on 3rd and goal when they ran that QB draw, and then it worked. I'm like, oh shit!
Yeah, but it was like when you're coaching youth basketball and you tell the kid not to shoot like a half court shot and he shoots. So you're like, what the? Oh, good shot when he makes it. Pretty much.
What do you have for the grade, Godfrey, for QB1, Mr. Jalen Hurts?
I give him a C+. I would have been a little bit lower, but the thing is he kept his composure. That's the one thing I love about Jalen. He doesn't get inside his head, as much as I see other younger quarterbacks do. I think he made an adjustment, or the coaching staff did. Well, probably moving more toward the offensive grade. They were doing things that weren't working. Brian Johnson, though, I'm coming for you. Wait till that grade comes up. But I didn't think it'd be a lot of points. That's why I went with 27-17. I wasn't too far off because I just feel like these games are like, oh, this is a shootout. And 9 times out of 10, it's the goddamn opposite of what we say. And, I kind of expected the Eagles to run the way they did. So I feel like Jalen was dealing with bad offensive line and bad play calls. Now, outside of that, there was moves he made where I'm just like, all right, that's not too smart. I felt like he was burping the ball a little bit too long, holding on to the ball. He had some moments that reminded me of Carson Wentz where he just is holding on to the ball way too long, looking for the big play downfield. I know there was stuff underneath. I know you don't have Dallas Goedert anymore, but then we need to start getting the ball to our playmakers, and I don't mean wide receiver screens backed up to the red zone. Anyway, that's a hint. It's a hint how we're going to talk about later on. But yeah, he gets a C+ from me. So.
But you can start Brian Johnson and Nick Sirianni are next on the agenda. Might as well start with it because you just brought it up. Let's segue right into it.
It's almost a D+, but I'm going to give them a C- because they won. And this is my problem with it. Coming off the bye week, I felt like you should have been more prepared. All right. They were talking about we're going to lose Julio Jones. We're going to see more Devontae Smith and this, and that because we don't Dallas Goedert. I didn't see any of that shit. He's still trying to roll Jack Stoll out there. He's not a pass catcher. I'm sorry. He's just not. He's not. You had Alberto dressed. You had him playing. Didn't give him a target. Might have saw one that I missed. No. And that's not a big deal. But when I'm thinking about stuff like, I'm saying to myself, why are we running 2 screens back to back with our back to the red zone in a row? Almost picked up. Why? They're rushing the line. They're getting through our O-line. I know you're trying to use. I'm saying to myself, what the hell are they thinking? And at that point, I'm like, we're going to lose this game. We're going to lose it. And it turned around after that. But so I'll give them credit. The thing where it didn't take it to a D- to me, the adjustment they made of, okay, AJ Brown to Jalen Hurts ain't working tonight. We got to move off that and go to Devontae Smith, which was the correct move. For whatever reason, it wasn't working. I know there's times he's been open. He missed throws. There's some catches, a couple catches I thought he could have made. He went and he chose to broke off the route in a different direction. It turned into an interception. And I love AJ Brown, but that's why he was so desperate to strip that ball out because he knows he fucked up on that one. Like some people want to blame Jalen. I'm blaming AJ Brown on that one because the rush came in. Jalen was thrown where he thought he should be. He broke off the route in a different direction because he saw the opportunity. Communication broke down, gets picked off. And
I completely disagree with that. I don't know what you saw. The ball was thrown at AJ Brown's calf muscle.
So just to be clear,
if you're in a situation where you're getting rushed and you have to throw the ball, you should be throwing it deeper. You should be throwing it ahead of him where he can run the ball and make a catch, not at the ground. That
wasn't a good throw.
You can't bring AJ Brown for the throw going to his calf.
But the body would have been there. He was completely uncontested because he went to a different direction.
Why would AJ Brown ever dive on the ground when he's turning his body?
I'm just saying he's in the wrong spot. There's nobody even in that spot to even.
Hold on. I actually read on this and I've watched the play and I know what he was running and I know what happened. Right. So AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts have a very similar chemistry that Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes do. In a sense that if there's a play open, they know AJ's going to run towards it. Jalen's going to throw towards it. The issue was the Philadelphia Eagles have to do a better job of running offense against nickel double mug. Teams are going to do this constantly where they're going to run 6 people at the line of scrimmage and blitz and blitz and blitz. They had 5 sacks in the first half. Now, the call wasn't it was an in route. AJ Brown ended up running a deep post on the play. The ball was underthrown because Jalen was expecting him to turn in on the in route. AJ had nothing but green grass ahead of him and expected Jalen to throw the ball deep. I actually blame Jalen on this play. I think if you have a full space of football field and you're under pressure, AJ Brown's doing the right thing by continuing the route past the defense. It is an in route. That is the play that was called. But when AJ Brown's a step or two behind the defender and there's nobody else behind him and there's pressure, you just got to throw the ball up there. Throw it and let him get it. And if you overthrow it, you overthrow it. But the call was an in route. That's what the call was. So, and they both talked about a miscommunication after the game. Nick Sirianni alluded to it on 94 that it was an in route that he was essentially AJ and Jalen are on the same page normally, that when they see a defense called the way they see it, that AJ has full reins to run a different route and Jalen has full reins to throw it to him in a different route. That's what happened.
The improvisation blew up. That's pretty much what happened.
Correct. And I'm not mad at either one of them for their decisions. Jalen threw the ball where he thought AJ should have been. AJ ran the route where he thought he should have been. It was a mistake. It happens. It sucks. The issue I have is with Brian Johnson's offense as a whole, because schematically, he is not opening doors for the team.
No.
There's not, like, how many players do you see schemed open? Last year with Steichen, you've seen guys and they're like, how the hell does he have nobody within 5 yards of him?
Now everything's difficult because
Correct.
you got guys hovered on you.
Correct.
Yeah,
now, and the other issue I have with Brian Johnson, who I will give a D+. I will give a D. I will go as low as a D+. The plus,
you're going to give him the D?
I'm giving him a D, but I'm giving him a D+.
I meant the D, but I get what you're saying.
I get it. But how in the world are you running the football with DeAndre Swift at a 6.3 yards per carry? Now, granted, I know he had a 35-yard run, and that leads to the yards per carry. But even if you remove the 35-yard run, he's still running the ball for 4 yards per carry. Why are you – I don't get it. Doesn't make sense. Why does he touch the ball only 12 times in this football game? Instead of those bubble screens, I would much rather be running the ball for 3 to 4 yards up the gut. They say bubble screens are a reaction to the blitz. They say it's an extension of the run game. Why not just run the ball? You have one of the best offensive lines in football, and they're getting their ass kicked on the line of scrimmage. I said this before, and I'll say it again. The offensive line has 2 jobs: hit or get hit. When they're pass protecting, they're getting hit, and they're protecting the quarterback. When they're run blocking, they get the hit. When you get punched in your mouth 5 times, the thing you want to do most is hit back.
Yeah. And they did a screen pass, by the way, and it blew up on him. And Lane Johnson was like, what's going on here? Like, they even tried, you know.
Well, I'm not saying the screen pass. I'm saying less screens, more 4-yard runs up the middle.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, especially against that defense. Like, eventually they made an adjustment, but it should have been early on. I thought they were playing with fire.
I don't think they really did a good job of an adjustment.
Yeah,
they started getting the ball on DeAndre Swift toward the end of the game. I think one adjustment. I think they were micro adjustments. All right. So I was screaming. I'm like, why are they telling Jalen Hurts not to run? When he scored that touchdown, there was no one back there. It was cover 0. My grandma, and it was a great cover 1. There was no one back there, and it was great that he made that adjustment. But they were giving that look a lot, man, and we were just like dum-de-dum-de-dum, like. And the thing is, even if you run the ball on that, if you get a clean block, there's no one behind you. You're gone for days. So I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, and they were just sending pressure, and they were daring us to do it.
Jack said it perfectly. You mean you didn't like the back-to-back bubble screens after the turnover? No, I didn't.
I threw up in my mouth, and then I threw up again. That was such a bad sequence. Like, I'm like, are you kidding me? I was so pissed. My dog was scared to death. I was yelling at the top of my lungs.
But Godfrey, the thing that I need everyone to understand, and I need you to understand, is they had 3 touchdowns in that game, right? 3. But we look at that game and we're like, okay, so what were the 3 touchdowns? Like, what did it have to do? One was a 17-yard run by DeAndre Swift. One was a 35-yard run by DeAndre Swift. And the other was a 45-yard pass to Devontae Smith. So, like, it's not like they sustainably ran offense that game at all. No, they had 3 X plays in that game that helped them score 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
Their offense to me was anemic. I give Brian Johnson a D+. And one reason I gave Sirianni a C instead of a B- is because he went in a freaking press conference and said, I think Brian Johnson's doing a great job. Nah, bro. Don't lie to us. We know what's happening in Philadelphia. He's not doing a great job. Cool. What did you give Brian Johnson and Nick Sirianni and the Eagles offense?
I'm giving them both a D.
Fair.
Not a D+, almost a D-.
DP in tonight.
Because that was trash. That was garbage. We were able, like you said, to have 3 good plays. Other than that, most of what I saw there was garbage. That's the most pissed I've been after a win, I think, as an Eagles fan. Like, I'm sitting there like, what in the world is that trash? that we call play calling, especially on the offense. The defense is bad the first half, but per the course, they normally do better in the second half, right? They normally do a good job of holding teams to not scoring or maybe a field goal or two in the second half. But the game is not just one half. So you're going to need to be better on that side of the ball too. But offensively, Godfrey, the points you were making about how these things were open and they were not using it was more against the argument that you were making that they made adjustments. They never really adjusted. They don't adjust. The offense just does the same things, and hopefully it's like they just take poop and throw it at the wall, and they throw poop at the same spot, and sooner or later it sticks. They don't even move the poop around.
They didn't adjust enough. I wonder actually if that was just Jalen Hurts audible-ing to that because he saw it on the
probably
field.
Was.
Well, Jack just said that. He said Hurts audible to the deep pass to Devontae Smith, and that's a very good point. I'd like to know what the play that Brian Johnson called there. That's a great comment right there.
It was probably a stupid. It probably was a stupid screen pass. Screens only work. Screens mostly work for us with Dallas Goedert. That's been the guy that was really excelling in the screen game for us. You give him the ball on the screen.
The best two screens they ran in that football game were the screens that they ran to DeAndre Swift that were inside screens. They were literally essentially like inside screens where he cut the ball. One got called back because of a penalty, and the other one went for 20 yards.
Right. But I'm just saying, the thing that historically, for me, it's Goddard is the guy. When Goddard is down there and he's getting those screens, those are 10, 15, 20 yards. He's getting touchdowns on those most of the time. I would like to see A.J. Brown get a couple of those screens split out wide with, one or two guys in front of him. I'd like to see what he can do on those. The fact that we use Devontae Smith sometimes in the screen game is laughable to me. And when I say that, I mean as a blocker. I've seen us use Devontae Smith as a blocker in the past game. And I'm like, are we serious? Are we really saying that Devontae Smith is going to block somebody? Stop playing.
Well, cool. You said it perfectly. The one thing that drove me nuts is, did you realize that the Kansas City Chiefs' main goal in that game was to stop A.J. Brown? Because the whole world did, and that's why he had one catch for 8 yards. So why in the world are you running an orbit screen to A.J. Brown's side where all the defenders are? A delayed orbit screen to freaking Devontae Smith almost turned into a pick six. It was the ugliest play of the game.
Yeah, and that's why they almost got a D- for me.
Yeah, I didn't give Sirianni a grade. I gave him a D-, and this is where I'm at with him. This is an overall thing. He's too loyal to certain players to a fault. And what I mean is sometimes talent has to be put out there, right? Now, I know people have heard me say this on the show, and it didn't turn out to be a big deal. But I've been excited about the Alberto trade. This kid ran a 4.49 in the combine. He's got athleticism and speed. If you're going to have to do a tight end screen, if they're going to do that in the future, that's the guy you're going to do it at that position. Not Jack Stoll, not Alcantara, whatever. No, that's why they traded for him. He's an athletic tight end that can catch the ball and do stuff in space. And I feel like guys like that will work in. But if they're not a Sirianni guy, or he doesn't like them, or he's not wearing their T-shirt, like you're going to get the Kenneth Gainwell reps. Like Kenneth Gainwell, he gets reps, but sometimes I think it's too much. I think Rashard Penny should get a few more touches. Not that it's going to make or break us. I just feel like sometimes he doesn't let talent outshine who his guy is. You know what I mean? And they get more of an opportunity sometimes.
That's fact, because you brought Rashard Penny in.
That's not even a feel. Yeah, that's factual.
That's fact.
Yeah, that's where and it shined out that night because there was one particular play where they threw a short pass to Jack Stoll, I believe, and they were on him right away. And he had no shot. He's not that type of tight end. You can't make him that. So, and I'm going not based off combine. I'm going based off you traded for this guy, Alberto, and I've seen him play on the Broncos. I actually have his rookie card sitting over here. Found out the other day by accident. Not that it's worth anything. Point is there's a reason why. And they traded for him, and I read about it. I was like, are they going to use this guy? He's trying to hedge a bet. Because it was a backup plan for Goddard in case he got hurt. Because he's more similar to Goddard than those other two guys on the roster are.
Yeah. You're right. Cool. Let's start with Sean.
So, Godfrey, the thing is, it wasn't a backup plan.
No, God, you were right. We're a little delayed. I was going to ask your opinion on Sean Desai and the Eagles' defense.
I'm going to give Sean Desai a C+. The reason I'll give Sean Desai a C+ is we did turn around the second half. Obviously, we almost got beat for a big play that could have changed the outcome of the game, but they were playing a lot better in the second half on the defensive side of the ball. There are adjustments being made there. My concern, though, is why he keeps getting C's for me is because We need to make adjustments before halftime. We need real-time adjustments on both sides of the ball for the Philadelphia Eagles. When you see things not working, make adjustments. Don't wait until the half. Don't wait until the end of the game. And don't get in the press conference, Nick Sirianni, and talk about these guys did great.
Yeah. So Sean Desai, to me, the funny thing about Desai, and I'll go second, I'll let Godfrey end it, is I don't know if I can give him an A or an A minus. I'm going to give him a solid B because you did hold Kansas City to 17 points, which is, to me, is incredible to do that. But I don't know if you held them to 17 points, or did Kansas City hold Kansas City to 17 points?
Yeah. I have a...
No, think about it real quick. Like, think about what they ended up doing in that game. They dropped a touchdown pass, damn near guaranteed, dropped right in Marquez Valdez-Scantling's hand. And then you have the 4th and 23 where Mahomes, now this, you could just credit this to being Mahomes being incredible. But Mahomes hits Justin Watson for a 23-yard catch. They just drops. Like, I don't know if I can give credit to the size defense for that.
And that's why I give him
bad. I like Desai. I really do. Let me be clear. Sean Desai, huge greater than Jonathan Gannon. I love him.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know if I can give him an A for that performance.
No,
I'll give him a B. I'll give him a B.
You're more generous than me, sir.
What did you say? C for Desai?
I did say C for Desai.
You're angry at an Eagles win. I love it.
Yes, I'm not happy with what I'm looking at, man. At least okayness.
How about my man, big play Kevin Byard coming to life?
But he better come to life after the first. The first touchdown in the game was his blown coverage, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
That touchdown, he let his coverage go. Now I'm happy. I love Kevin Byard, but he played great versus Travis Kelce. But that first touchdown in the game was his guy that I think he thought they were playing zone and he let him go.
Yeah. I give him a B plus. No, B. I just give him a flat B because listen, they shut him down in the second half, and it is a good question you asked, Gene. Is that a little bit of Andy Reid? I'm going to go off the cuff here. When I look at the Chiefs, you know who they remind me of? They remind me of the 2003 Eagles. I'm going to tell you why. And this is where we know Andy Reid, okay?
It's fair.
He's not the GM coming in there. Mahomes is better than McNabb. But McNabb was in his prime. He was young. And all we were fighting with them is, we don't need a receiver to win a Super Bowl. Look at New England. They won it with Deion Branch. Blah, blah, blah. And then we just have a guy there and a below-average tight end. And we're like, okay, whatever. They get T.O. We're in the Super Bowl. Well, look at that magic, right? Andy Reid it's that little nugget commercial where he's like, let me get those nuggies. He's getting his hands back on that roster again. And you got guys from Penn catching balls. Justin Watson. You got guys like MVS. He's got a bunch of guys out there. So am I surprised they lost? No, because how the Chiefs fans felt tonight is how I felt many times when Andy Reid was the coach in 2003 and before
all those NFC championship games we went to and lost is because we didn't have good enough wide receiver play.
MVS has always been that guy.
Doesn't MVS remind you of Bryce Treggs?
Yeah.
A little flash in the past.
Yeah, and he's got tons of athleticism, but this man cannot play football in a sense where he's more athlete than football player, in my opinion, MVS.
John Ross was.
Todd Pinkston.
Yeah, Todd, that's what I'm saying. James Trash, Todd Stinkston, Torrance can't be too small. Charles, I don't know who the hell I am. Johnson,
I love the James Trash. By the way, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, and I'm just like, although he did win that 10-9 Eagles-Giants game, and I was in a room full of Giants fans, so I'll always be thankful to James Trash for that.
White Lightning, Kevin Curtis, who was like the Rams. Really brought him in to be our number one.
Yeah, he played what was that? The Lions or the Rams he played, where he had like a million fucking. Everybody's like, Kevin Curtis has arrived. I'm like, guys, no. And so that's my thing. Like that Chiefs team, it reminds me of that. He's got a really good aggressive offensive coordinator, which I believe Spagnuolo is a Jim Johnson disciple, if I'm not correct.
Yes.
Right. Yes. He's got a reincarnation of Jim Johnson on his team as defensive coordinator, really aggressive with the blitz, getting more out of the defense people thought we can get. And now he's got a really good quarterback and a bunch of mediocre guys around him, except for one tight end, and it's just Andy Reid reverting to himself. And I'm telling you, they're not going to make the Super Bowl
Wasn't that
because of
Chad
that.
Lewis
I'm telling you,
2003?
100%. They're not going to make the Super Bowl because of that. And Chiefs fans, I tried to call on a national radio show to talk about this, and they shot me down because everybody always says Andy Reid got run out of town by Eagles fans. No, he didn't, and that's a whole nother talking point.
We talked about that last week.
Yeah, but I will tell you,
what's your grade on Stisai?
He's a C. I mean, he's a B, flat B. I mean, you go into Arrowhead, and they did make some adjustments. It was a little late, but they held him to nothing at the end of the second half. And I thought
we really hold him to nothing though. I gave him a B too, but did they really hold him to nothing?
Jack just said it. They haven't scored a second half punt in a month. You know what I'm saying?
Jack's on point tonight. Appreciate you.
Well, that's why I was confident about the next two games, because the Broncos are getting better, but they both beat the Bills and the Chiefs because they played some tough defense and, they ran the ball. We get cute. And we're like, you know what? Let's throw it. All right, we'll run it now. Psych.
We're going to make the playoffs. Broncos are going to make the playoffs. People are sleeping on that team right now. They won 4 straight. Sean Payton's got Russell Wilson playing better. The defense is playing better. They still can't stop anybody from running the football.
Kareem Jackson's an idiot, though. He's like, let me come back and catch a 4-game suspension after.
I think that's bogus, by the way.
For the call. Yeah, I don't know why he's up in that zone, but it's like he's probably has multiple violations. I didn't even see the fall.
Oh, he does.
Oh, no, he basically shoulder to chest Josh Dobbs, but he jumped at him. He kind of dove at him. I don't think it was barely flaggable, if I'm being honest. And they gave him a 4-game suspension. Now, granted, he has a history, but I think that's bogus. I don't want to get too far into that.
It's because he's a habitual line stepper. That's why they gave him.
That's 100%.
Why.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into Buffalo. We got the Buffalo Bills coming into town. Nobody circles the wagon like the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen has declared he's back after throwing an 11-yard slant pattern to Khalil Shakir, who took it 82 yards to the house. That's Josh Allen. He did everything on that play. I don't know. I think Josh Allen throws us the football a few times, but I do think this is a really big trap game. This is such an important football game for Philadelphia because the way it lines out, right? Philadelphia wins this game. They only have to win one of the next 2 between San Fran and Dallas, and it doesn't matter which one it is, and they can clinch the 1 seed by beating up Seattle in 3 trash cans. I think that.
Oh, by the way,
yes, sir.
There's a team that we need to say thank you to real quick.
Oh yeah,
Green Bay. Appreciate you, Green Bay.
Thank you. Thanksgiving.
Man, just imagine if they took a blue chipper DN or D tackle in the beginning of the draft instead of Jahmyr Gibbs. What would your defense look like, Detroit? Jahmyr Gibbs winning you games? No.
I don't understand Detroit, but they don't make sense to me. I like Jahmyr Gibbs, and I think the teams are starting to get on that wagon of get a running back and control his first 4 or 5 years.
They could have got Charbonnet later on. I think Charbonnet's a better back than Jahmyr Gibbs. I think we're both.
I said that in my scouting report.
I looked at, even though they lost last night, Charbonnet looked sharp with the opportunities he had. I felt like he was crisp on that field. But
I said Charbonnet and A-Chain are the best 2 backs in this draft, and people laughed at me.
Yeah,
I don't think I'm getting laughed at anymore.
Yeah.
Everyone laughed at me when I said Charbonnet and A-Chain are the best 2 backs in this draft. I still have my draft report.
Yeah, but that Detroit Lions defense is awful. I mean, look, they barely handled they barely handled the Raiders, and the Raiders were abysmal right then. I'm looking at them, I'm like, and it's at home. I mean, I think they're bad. Look at the Packers couldn't score on anybody a week ago.
Rivalry games are weird, man. Look at the way the Commanders look versus
They almost lost to the Bears last week, and the Bears gave it away to them. They were dominating them most of the time.
Division games are weird, Godfrey. Look how they look versus us, the Commanders.
But if you're going to be a number 1 or 2 seed,
look how they're looking versus everybody else. They're not going to be by the end of the year. They're not going to be.
All right. Well, let's talk about the Buffalo Bills. So, offense or defense? What do you want to hit on first?
Hit on offense.
Defense.
All right.
Either one's fine.
Let's start with defense because I want to start with defense, and I'll be the decider. Cool said defense. Calvary said offense. Josh Allen. How are we stopping Josh Allen? How are we stopping Stephon Diggs? We don't really have to worry about how we're stopping their run game because they refuse to run the football. which is amazing to me.
This game should pad our
By the way,
for sure.
why did the Chiefs go away from the pass and said we're going to run and play into the Eagles' hands? Like they deserve some heat too. You remember that? Like, were you puzzled by that at all, guys?
Bro, you're like, your mind. They ran the ball 30 times for 170 yards. They're averaging 5.6 yards per carry. Godfrey, I love you.
No, but listen, that plays right. That plays right into the Eagles' hands. What if you?
It didn't play 170 yards. Didn't
win them the game. Like they couldn't pass the ball. How do you beat the Eagles? Passing the ball, right? Passing the ball.
I don't know if I agree with you at all, bro.
Yeah, I think the Eagles will always take someone trying to beat them by the run, even if they get 170. Because remember, that's how they in between the 20s, they'll let you run buck wild. That's what they do.
I'm just saying, Godfrey, it's not like Kansas City wasn't dropping balls.
Correct.
Like it's not like we were playing great defense and stopping them from making those plays.
They were dropping
those balls. Like they were literally dropping those balls.
Justin Watson was catching balls and dropping them.
Threw the ball 43 times, Godfrey. Did you want him to throw it 55? I don't understand.
Yeah, but it just seemed like they had him on the fence with that in the beginning, and they're like, we're going to switch it up. In the beginning of the game, they switched. After that first series, where Hassan Reddick got in there real quick, they seemed like they got shook, and they switched up their whole motion of offense.
And then they scored a touchdown.
They switched. I feel like they switched it up, man. It just they weren't doing.
I mean, they did switch it, but it worked. I mean, it's not like
they scored 17. I know that the guy had a drop pass, but that one was dropped in the end zone. The other ones weren't dropped in the end zone. So I mean, I look at that as
Travis Kelce fumbled the ball at the 13-yard line. That was points.
He did fumble the ball.
Yeah.
Our defender ripped it from his arms too.
Interception in the end zone.
They moved the ball well versus us, man. I think they had
Kelce dropped a drop when they ended up being a drive killer at another point too. So I mean, it's not like there weren't a lot of just drops, not great defense.
They lead the league in drops. They're a dropping team. I mean, they lead the league in drops.
So that's 100%. Why they went to the run.
So that's why they run the ball, because they can't catch.
Bro,
you can't be one-dimensional. I mean, it's not going to work.
They threw the ball 44 times.
But look,
they tried.
Kelce had a touchdown, but he only had 44 receiving yards.
7 catches.
Yeah, I look at that as a win. Okay.
Yeah, I do.
They made him turn the ball over. I mean, I just think that play. Listen, I get 170 yards. How many rushing touchdowns did you have? What happened in the red zone? That's where their issues were coming through. I thought they were going to field goal us to death, and I was like, all right, because they can move the ball, but Eagles had a couple timely turnovers. I don't know. Anyway, we're talking about the offense. I just thought it was interesting because I felt like there was room there for the Chiefs to do other things to be successful on this, and they didn't do it.
All right. So how does the Eagles defense slow down Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and the Buffalo Bills? Dalton Kincaid. It's definitely a name you got to talk about.
Yeah.
That's the two weapons. You got to stop Diggs. You got to stop Kincaid. I think Kincaid, Kevin Byard will be on just like he was on with Travis Kelce, but you don't have no wide receivers. I honestly believe, and I think one of the things that helps us the most is Diggs lines up a lot on the outside. He's a slot. He can run up in the slot, but he's nowhere like CeeDee Lamb. He's very similar to a Justin Jefferson type, where he lines up a lot on the outside. Do you have Slay follow him, or do you do the Slay Bradbury no matter what side he's on? Do you let Bradbury get torched by him in the game? Like, what's your thought process to slow down the Buffalo offense? I think our defensive line has to make a huge impact in this football game. I think they got to hit Josh Allen and hit him often, get him off his spots. Once you get him off his spots, he likes to throw the ball down the field and make mistakes.
I mean, Slay has a lot of experience against Diggs, I would imagine, right? Both being former NFC North players. I'm curious what the stats would be against each other, but I would put Slay on him. I mean, my thing is a guy that I worry about too, and is Shakir. Fast over the middle, has the ability to take it to the house. Did it last week. He's starting to emerge as a weapon. I could see them peppering the ball over the middle. He's like, you got Dalton Kincaid, who has been a riser every week. He's performing. Guy's playing like a real blue chipper, but I think he's going to turn the ball over, and I just don't know if the Bills have that. I don't know if they have that extra to go into Philly and beat them. I just think it's going to be a close game. Josh Allen's unpredictable. I think Joe Brady did it, a decent job with some certain play calls last week. I think he got more people involved than there usually aren't. It did look different to me, a slightly different offense than it did under Ken Dorsey. He was taking the checkdowns more. So, you might get more of a disciplined Bills team coming into this game, which makes it a closer game. I think you gotta, Josh Allen could just improvise, dust you off him, and throw it down the field. He's got a strong enough arm. I think you got to be disciplining your defensive approach, and you definitely can't be letting people get behind you for the big play. And I see the Eagles letting them run wild in between the 20s. I hate the bend don't break, but I feel like you're going to see a lot of that approach, and just to keep the scoring down, because you got to limit the big plays with the Bills.
I think they only played each other twice. I looked it up.
That's it?
Something. Yeah, I think it was in 2019, Minnesota versus Detroit. And Diggs definitely had a big 40-yard touchdown pass over Darius Slay. There actually was so. It's also 2019, bro.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's not gonna be an easy game. It's basically a pick 'em. You're getting 3 for the Eagles because they're the home team. I think the Bills are reeling right now, and they're still trying to find who they are.
Joe Brady being the play caller now instead of Ken Dorsey. Joe Brady taking over the offensive coordinator. Now, I don't know if we've seen enough of Buffalo versus the Jets. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. Zach Wilson gave them every opportunity in the world. Josh Allen still threw a ball up, made it look terrible. The Jets offense was giving you opportunity after opportunity. I don't know if we can call Josh Allen back. I can't do that.
I did see checkdowns. I saw decisions being made that I didn't see before under the previous OC. And I think an overarching criticism you can make about Josh Allen from Dable to Dorsey and Brady's too much of a small sample size so far as he seemed more turnover prone and less disciplined when Dable was already out. Right. So did they correct that in 2 weeks? I hope you're wrong. I hope that they didn't. I did see more checkdowns though, but you're right though. I mean, the Jets really didn't. I think that at a certain point, I think the defense is like, we're not going to score any points. We're fucked. I mean, meaning like not the defense, but they're looking at, the ineptness of Zach Wilson, the offense in general. Even today, you watch that Jets game, Tim Boyle wasn't really going to do a lot for you. They were thinking maybe he could run the offense better. I just think Nathaniel Hackett is just not a really good offensive coordinator unless he's got a guy like Aaron Rodgers where he's just holding a clip for him. So I think you're all right. I mean, they had guys like Ty Johnson score, a screen pass for a long touchdown on him. I mean, that's why I know if the Jets are engaged, that ain't happening. So yeah, man, it's a good point you make. I do think there's a little bit more discipline. So I don't know if it's been fixed yet, but I'm hoping you're right. I'm hoping that they're still trying to find their way because that's the team I want coming to town.
God, cool. What do you think about the Bills offense versus the Eagles defense? Do you think the Ken Dorsey firing and the Joe Brady as the play caller is the move for Buffalo? What's your thoughts?
I think that's yet to be seen. But what the Eagles need to do is make sure that they put a lot of pressure on the line, a lot of pressure on Josh Allen, make him feel like he's got to get rid of the ball quickly, where he doesn't do what he wants to do, which is throw the ball down the field. He's got a guy who likes to check down through. Clearly, he's going to try to target the middle. Everybody knows when you play the Eagles, you target the middle. Hooray, hurrah. That's obvious. But at some point, that's not going to work. If you continue to do that, somebody's going to get you. Blankenship's going to get you. Byard's going to get you. Somebody's going to get you if you continue to go to that middle. One of them is going to get you. I think as far as your question earlier about what do we do about Stephon Diggs, I just said whoever goes, whichever side he goes to, let them cover him. Because Bradbury had a much better game this past week. Yeah. I'm not dismissing the previous games, but I'm saying he looked more like what we expect. Bradbury is not the fastest corner. He's never been the fastest corner. But he can play football the way it needs to be played. He can handle his side. He can take care of Diggs part-time. When Diggs is there, we should keep everything flush. One of the things I think a lot of people look at, they say, oh, we want, Slay to follow the best receiver all the time. Okay, well then if you put the best receiver on the same side that like Bradbury's on, then you got Slay on one side with Bradbury staying his side, right? Because you're not going to send Bradbury to the other side because you still have another wide receiver most of the time lined up on that side. So if you got Slay and Bradbury on one side, then you're putting Roby on one side by itself on an island. So that's when you start to get into situations where guys get to make plays, because there's a time where we were even using Josh Jobe there, and we know how that was going. So I think you stay with your game plan. The game plan should be Slay, you stay on your side, Bradbury, you stay on your side. Wherever he goes, that's who you're that's the guy that you're focusing on if he's on your side. And I think the linebackers have got to make plays. We know they're not going to run the ball. So if you're sending a linebacker, you're sending him to blitz. You just want to make sure Josh Allen doesn't get through. So I think you want one of your linebackers to be a spy on Josh Allen. And then you're attacking Josh Allen because he's the real running through on the team. I mean, he hasn't been running as much, but they know that we're going to be susceptible to that because they've seen other guys that don't have the same running ability that Josh Allen has make some plays, not be great at it, but make some plays against us. So that's what I think we need to do defensively: aggressiveness, keep the guys on the side, make sure you're paying attention to Diggs wherever he's at. If he's there, he should be feeling two people around him. And I mean, other guys, if they beat you, they beat you. Kincaid's a guy you got to watch, but we've got some guys. We got guys that handled Travis Kelce last week. If you can handle Travis Kelce, you should be able to handle Kincaid.
Agreed. Let's move
handle
on.
him swiftly.
Let's move on to the Eagles offense versus the Buffalo Bills defense. Now, Buffalo's defense is missing their two best players. Matt Milano and Tre'Davious White are out for the season. The strength of their defense is their defensive line, whether it be Von Miller, Ed Oliver. They have its strength across that defensive line. They can get after the quarterback without blitzing. They do not need the blitz to get home. This will be a great, I guess, warm-up for what you're going to see in San Francisco with their defensive line getting to the quarterback without having to blitz the quarterback. It'll be interesting to see how the offensive line holds up. They haven't looked great recently. Offensively, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith should have a field day.
You could run against the Bills. I mean, you could run against them. I'm telling. I mean, just watch the Broncos game from 2 weeks ago. I'm not saying the Broncos can't run the ball, but you can run against them. We have the personnel capable of doing that. Unlike, were they just waiting to break out the run game for these games? I hope so, because the defense got a lot easier to time if the Eagles win the ball, and that's what they really should be doing: is run the ever-loving crap out of the ball.
I mean, the Broncos ran the ball. They didn't run the ball with much success. Javonte Williams had 21 carries for 79 yards, 3.8 yards per carry. The only one that averaged over 3 yards per carry for them was Russell Wilson. A lot of those were scrambles. The Buffalo Bills do have a good run defense. I mean, you can run the ball versus them, and you have to run the ball to slow down that defensive line from getting after the quarterback. You don't want to allow them to pin their ears back and come after the quarterback. Right. I think this is more of a throwing the ball downfield game. I think this is an X-play game, and I think the way you beat Buffalo is by exposing their corners against your elite wide receivers. That's my personal opinion.
The Broncos had won the time of possession with timely running. They didn't have 300 yards, but they got the first and third downs. They got the third down for the first down, the conversions, and they had the ball, I believe, 10 minutes more than Buffalo, thus keeping Josh Allen off the field, playing some good defense, coming up with some turnovers, because you could get turnovers versus Buffalo. You're going to get a couple. Am I right? You should get a couple turnovers versus Buffalo. It seems pretty guaranteed with that squad.
I mean, what I looked at when I seen Buffalo is I seen a team that's very good at stopping the run defensively, that allows the number one receiver to get off. 2 weeks ago, it was T. Higgins. He had 8 catches for 110 yards. Or 3 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, it was Cortland Sutton, who was breaking out. And then, versus the Jets, you can't really see much because they don't have a quarterback that can throw the football. But the way I see you beating Buffalo is, I'll tell you right now, if you have A.J. Brown, put him in every parlay you have, he's going to have a big game. I think A.J. Brown gets off this game. I think the Philadelphia Eagles throw the football. I think it's a high-scoring game, very high-scoring game. I think we're getting to the point where the Philadelphia Eagles need to have a statement game on the offensive end. Cool. How do you feel like the offense should attack Buffalo? Godfrey thinks we should run the football. I think we should throw the football. Want to hear your thoughts.
I'm going to beat y'all in the middle. Play action. Play action should be our best friend in this game. We should run, but we know the Eagles are not going to run the ball over 15 to 20 times. That's just what it is. So there's no point in saying, oh, we should run the ball 30 times. They've shown us all this season they're not going to do that.
You're running up set the play action.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, if they don't care if it's a team that's 32nd running the ball or first. It's going to be no more on the best day, 20 carries in a game. So they're going to have to attack, like Gene said, big plays down the field. You have to give whatever they give you. When they go into their zone, which they're going to go into the zone if AJ and Devontae start doing what I expect them to do. Don't forget about the other guys that we have on the team. This Albert O dude we brought in. I know you are loving him, Godfrey. They're never going to give him the ball.
Yeah.
He's not going to get the ball.
What he's got to do is he's got to get my T-shirt guy and get one for the coach.
It doesn't matter. He's not going to wear it because he's not, like Gene said, he's not one of his guys. It's going to have to be Julio, and it's going to have to be Zacchaeus. My fear is that before this game, Quez Watkins, who's been activated, his 21-day window's been activated. My fear is that he plays in this game. Because my fear is that if he's back, we know he's one of Sirianni's guys. The reason I haven't been complaining about Quez Watkins is because he hasn't been playing. So now he could possibly play. If he plays, that changes the dynamic because they're going to try to throw the ball to him down the field. If they throw it 4 times, he's going to catch 2. One of them's going to be an interception because he's not going to fight the defender. The defender gets in front of him, and the other one's going to be a drop. Oh, it's going to be an interception. He's never going to get the ball because he doesn't fight. I don't like Quez Watkins because he doesn't fight for the ball. He doesn't see the ball through the catch, and he has no physicality about him whatsoever at the wide receiver position.
I feel like the Eagles caught a virus after running against the Minnesota Vikings that one game. They're like, oh, we can't do that much. Oh, my God. Get away from the run game. Completely.
They don't like to run. I mean, this offensive staff just doesn't like to run the ball for some reason. And they're not going to change. I don't believe they're holding back for the playoffs or they're holding back for the season. They just don't like to run the ball. We just got to live with it. They don't like to run the ball.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much. Godfrey says that shit every week. We're like, they're holding back. They're holding back. They're not holding back. This is just poor play calling.
I mean, listen, dangerous part of our schedule, and they're not running the ball. That tells you they're not going to run the ball.
What I fear too is like Brian Johnson. Yeah, everybody gets a position where they're in some kind of authority, and they're like, "All right, I'm going to put my stamp on this." You know what I mean? So I feel like when you switch offensive coordinators, you're like, "All right, I gotta stir the pot my way to show that I'm doing something." You know what I mean? And I feel like there's a little bit of that going on. There's just obvious things they should do that they have done and done successfully that they won't do. You're right. You're right. It's not going to happen. Still, what I think they should do, but it's pretty obvious that they're not.
Well, we got to get it in the score predictions for the game. I'm going to go last on this one. Now, you know what? Let me get the somberness out of the way.
The somberness.
I have it 34-23 Buffalo. I think the Eagles lose this week. I think it's a letdown game for Philadelphia. Short week, middle sandwich game with San Francisco next week. I actually think that losing this football game actually might be good for them. They lose the football game, maybe they go out and beat San Francisco next week. That San Francisco team looks really good. They're not going to go 16-1. And I'm choosing to have them trip up versus Buffalo than San Francisco or Dallas. So I'm picking the Buffalo Bills to beat the Philadelphia Eagles 34-23.
Okay, Godfrey, go ahead.
Yeah. Sometimes I look at what team needs to win more. Buffalo's a wounded dog. They need this win more than the Eagles do. I know the Eagles are fighting for the number 1 seed, but Buffalo has got their backs up against the wall. I mean, they're fighting for a playoff spot right now. They're not going to win that division. So I look at that and, I see this could be a loss too. I could see the Eagles losing somewhere like, 30-24. You know what I mean? I see some scoring going on in this game. And, this is that game where I agree with Gene. I could see a trip up here. Big emotional game last week, coming home. I know it's not a trap game, but you're looking at it and you're like, man, Josh Allen can win a game on the road. It's not gonna be an easy game, and he's unpredictable too. So he's that guy where like he'll break 3 tackles, and you're like, and just throw a touchdown down the line. You're like, that's not supposed to happen. You're like, 3 defenders touched him in the backfield, and he still threw a touchdown. So he makes mistakes, but I just feel I have that feeling too, Gene, about this week.
I'm gonna go 27-21 Philadelphia.
I love it.
Piss on the Bills. I understand this could be a trap game, but guess what? We're going to trap you. We still have teams on our tail. No one still likes us. We still haven't beat anybody because as soon as you lose to the Eagles, you're nobody again because Kansas City's nobody because they can't catch the ball now. So, leading up to the game, Kansas City is going to be a big threat for the Eagles. We're going to really see they can play the Super Bowl champions. Then they lose to us. Oh, Kansas City really has a lot of problems at wide receiver. And, if they were able to get that fixed, then they would have won that game. And Philadelphia should have lost to Dallas and blase this and blase that. So it'll be another game that we'll all be mad about. We'll be pissed off 3/4, not even 3/4. We'll be pissed off 6/8 of this game or 7/8 of this game. They'll come through like they always do with that play at the end of the game, more than likely. And it may be just to push it out for a field goal or whatever. But they'll give up points because that's what we do. We'll come out the first half and we'll lay down. And then we'll decide we want to play in the second half. And hopefully, Buffalo will give us a couple of turnovers. And that's where I'm getting the score that I'm getting from. But, I mean, it's going to be another one of those where make sure you're at a place that you like. You're with some people that you like to be around. You got some good food, whatever you like to drink during the game, because you're going to be pissed for about the first 3.5 quarters of this game, like we are every week.
I don't watch games with enemy combatants.
Okay.
if you're on another,
I don't know. I don't know Buffalo fans. So I'm probably going to go to the sports bar. There's probably be like 3 Buffalo fans there, and they're going to be like, "Yeah, Bills," and I'm like,
yeah, Bills. I gotta say, Bills fans are usually a good time. The ones I've hung out with, I'll go jump through some tables with Bills Mafia one time.
I'll pass, but hey, it's all you.
I'm not going to no tables, bro.
Yeah, I'm not going to no tables. Unless you're paying me in WWE, AEW, or Impact or something, I'm not going to no tables.
All right, well, gentlemen, let's wrap it up with Counterfeit Green. Anybody have one this week?
Yeah, I got a Counterfeit Green. It's for all those Eagles fans out there talking about Nick Sirianni has to have more decorum, and out of your same breath, you'll talk about how Buddy Ryan was the man. Give me a break. The guy who is the king of no decorum was Buddy Ryan, and I loved him. Don't get me wrong, but I hear those same cats out here talking about how they don't like Nick Sirianni talking trash like that. I'm like, and then in the same breath talk about Buddy Ryan. You're Counterfeit Green. Get the hell out of here.
My Counterfeit Green is Nick Sirianni himself. My counterfeit is Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni runs around here talking about how great the offense is playing, how it's just about winning games and blah blah this and blah blah blah. Shut up. Your press conference, I invaded along with other Eagles fans. And we were like, "Can you start running the ball? What are you guys doing?" You talk like Brian Johnson is calling a great game. If you think Brian Johnson is calling a great game, you need to go learn how to be a head coach. And you need to learn what an offensive coordinator is supposed to do. I'm sick of seeing this crap. And at some point, y'all are going to burn us with your garbage play calling. So together, you're the Counterfeit Green, but mostly Nick Sirianni because you're the head coach and you're the one praising this garbage that we're seeing every week.
Okay. I don't have a Counterfeit Green this week. I don't. I think that there's a lot of different things that could be used for it, but I don't have anything I felt passionately about. I love that you two went on the opposite end of the spectrum there. I hope the Eagles prove me wrong. Maybe I'm just a pessimist. Maybe I'm just a skeptic. I hope the Eagles are playing their best football come playoff time because this isn't championship football. I don't care if we're 9-1. It's not championship football. I want to see the Eagles playing better football as a whole. Thank you guys for tuning in this week to Birds Deep. We will be back at our regularly scheduled time next Thursday. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Jack Newman, Daniel Dempsey, bunch of you guys up there. Chris, Jory, Saigan, my man Beantown Breakdown, all y'all. Mikey C, ton of you guys. So thank you. Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
The road to 10-1. Let's go.
All right. Well, without further ado, I'm the NFL genius, Gene Walzak. That's Taking a D with D. Godfrey. That's Eagles Elite and Cool McCain. And we are